Welcome, I'm Michael Bickert. Thanks for joining me today as we explore concepts with the objective of improving your management skills and growing your business. Grab a notepad, grab a pen. I want you to take notes. I want you to make a commitment to yourself that you're going to jot down some sort of action item that you can implement in your business today, because that's what this is all about. We want to drive your business forward. Now, don't tune out when I tell you the topic. Today, we're going to talk about accounting. I know, for many of you, that sounds very boring. It's like, really? Accounting? It puts me to sleep. I got to admit that I felt that way for a great deal of my management career, but accounting can make you so much more effective as a manager. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna break this down into the top 10 things that accounting can do to enable you to become more effective as a manager. And then I'm gonna give you the top 10 tips for ensuring that you're maximizing accounting in your organization. And I'll endeavor to have a free download with some notes, so you don't have to write down all of these things. Of course, you could replay the video anytime. Share this video with your accountant or your accounting team, whether or not that is somebody internal or one of the people who are a stakeholder. Maybe you've got a spouse who's involved in the business and that person is involved in doing the accounting. Maybe you're doing the accounting yourself and you can focus on this. Share it with your external accountant if you have this, so that you can hold that person accountable and say, hey, here's what I'd like to see out of my accounting. And for goodness sake, if you can't get this with your accountant, then reach out to us and let us do your accounting for you. So without further ado, let's get started with looking at how accounting can enable you to be a more effective manager. So the first reason, these are in no particular order, so I'll say number one, but this doesn't mean it's the most important thing. But the number one thing that good accounting enables you to do is to produce your balance sheet. And your balance sheet is really critical. It's something that you can look at each month and take a look at your business's value. You can see, are you going in the right trajectory? Are you increasing your wealth as the owner of this business? Now, maybe some of you are just managing your business, and I would encourage you to reach out to the owner and make sure that that person shares the balance sheet with you, so that you can see that you're doing a good job in helping to increase the value of the business. The balance sheet is very critical. We could do individual videos in each and every of these points, and so I'm just gonna sort of give you the tips, give you the ideas, and then let you think about it. We can elaborate on any of these concepts you want, and certainly leave some notes in the comments. The number two thing that good accounting enables you is the production of monthly and annual income statements. These are critically important. You should be evaluating your income statements every month, and the degree to which you struggle with that, you should have your accountant help you with that and show you. You don't have to go through it line by line. There should be certain things you look at on it, and these should be produced every single month. They're a great way to show you on a month-to-month basis the direction that you're going. So make sure you become familiar with the income statement and have those prepared for you by good accounting practices on time, every month. The third thing that really good accounting practices enable is for you to have key performance index, key performance indicator index, so KPI index, or more commonly referred to as performance analytics, or what we like to call a report card. With good accounting practices, you can have great report cards that are very meaningful. They'll show you the trajectory of your business. So some of the things from the balance sheet can be included on those. Some of the things from the income statement undoubtedly will be, should be, have to be included on these report cards. But these are different. These reports are something that you're going to review every month and show you the direction that your business is heading. And good accounting, it takes good accounting to be able to produce these. So make sure you're looking at those, and certainly visit all that. I think I've got like 5 videos on report cards that will give you a lot more information on what should go on those and how you assemble them and so on. But good accounting is necessary to having good report cards, good performance analytics, good key performance index our key performance indicators, indexes or indices. Number 4, good accounting practices enable you to track your personal bests and your records. This is really motivating, at least for me. I always like to see, and I like my team to see, how are we on track to break a record this month? Is this going to be a record year? I want to track as many different records as possible. We have a whole video on that, but it takes good accounting. If you don't have good accounting, how will you know if you're setting a good if you're setting a record or a personal best? So make sure that you're tracking your records. Number 5 is expense analysis and control. You need to control your expenses, and you need to do periodic evaluation of your expenses and do an analysis and dig into that deeply. Sometimes your review of your report cards will cause you and motivate you to go and take a look at your expenses, but it takes good accounting. Some of you have sporadic accounting, and at the drop of a hat, you could not go and pull up an expense report, or you couldn't demand an expense report because you're not tracking your receipts. You're not reconciling all of your expenses as consistently and frequently as you should be doing. But good accounting practices allow you to track your expenses. That makes you a better manager. That makes you stronger than your competitors who don't do that. All right, I admit I cheated on number 6 because I kind of combined 2 because I wanted it to be a nice round number of 10, but they're very much related. I've got, you can have optimum tax planning and strategizing and less waste. And I think those are related because if you are paying a whole bunch of tax that you shouldn't be paying because you don't have good tax planning and good strategizing, that's very wasteful. There are many very, very legal ways to reduce your tax burden. The governments and the various jurisdictions around the world have tax write-offs and everything, and some of you don't have good accounting practices and you're not taking advantage of those things, so you are wasteful in that regard. But beyond taxes, there's lots of ways that your good accounting practices will prevent you from being wasteful and investing resources in areas that aren't optimum. Number 7, the 7th thing that good accounting practices enable is trend and anomaly analysis and investigation. I want you to graph things. I want you to take key things. And you might say, well, this is part of my report card. Great. But some of you do this separately, and you do it maybe less frequently than you look at your report cards. But you want to be able to spot trends. You want to be able to pick out anomalies where there's outlying data points and everything. Good accounting can do that. A good accountant looks at that and goes, hey, what's going on here? This is an outlying data point. This is unusual. This is an anomaly in terms of an expense, or an anomaly in terms of revenue or profit. What is going on here? There may be something that should have further investigation and analysis. And if it turns out to all be accurate and it's a good thing, then that exploration that was enabled by the good accounting practices can lead to all sorts of strategizing and changing your business to take advantage of what you've now discovered. You can only really look at trends closely, analyze them and investigate them, and spot anomalies with good accounting practices. The 8th thing that good accounting practices enables is logical projections. You know the expression, none of us has a crystal ball. If I could tell the future, I would be rich. Well, good accounting practices makes it that much better. It's like the proverbial crystal ball. Of course, looking at your historical trends of your accounting will not necessarily indicate the future is going to be identical, because there's other factors that can change in the market and within your organization, within your industry, and so on. However, it's the best way, it's the closest thing to a crystal ball that you have, is to be able to look at your past and make good logical projections based on your history. And of course, the longer of a sample size you have, the more data points you have, the more accurate your projections will be. And you should be projecting. You should have projections. What is this year going to look like? What is this month, next month? What is it going to look like 5 years down the road? All of these things are just educated guess. How do you make them more accurate and more reliable and relevant for your team? Good accounting practices. The ninth thing that good accounting practices enables is better decision making, and that's what it's all about. As a manager, if you're an ideal manager, that means you are doing great decision making. You are making great decisions, and good accounting helps you. It enables you to make better decisions, and it does so by increasing your response time. It helps you to avoid pitfalls. We talked about trend analysis and anomaly analysis, and we talked about projections. Well, all of that is related to this idea that it helps you sort of react with better time. Nothing springs up on you and surprises you, or very few things. It mitigates against the risk of surprises, like all of a sudden you're in a cash flow crunch. Good accounting, or good businesses, good management with good accounting practices, they don't have those surprises out of the blue because that crystal ball that exists. Therefore, you can make better decisions. You can see, hey, we've got some extra cash here. Should we invest this? Our resources, we have a bit of a pool here and we can do something with this. So you can take advantage of opportunities. You make better decisions with better accounting. So make sure that you are taking advantage of that. And number 10, and perhaps the most important of all, for your wealth, and that's WELL, superscript TH, as we like to call it, wealth, your professional and personal success combined. The number 10 thing that good accounting procedures and practices enable for your business is peace of mind. You're gonna get better sleep, you're gonna have less stress. Even if things aren't going particularly well in your business, if you know the facts, we talked about ignorance is not bliss in the context of business. If you know the facts, you can at least rest secure that you know what's happening and you're going to respond with the optimum efficiency and effectiveness as a manager. But some of you are sort of avoiding things when it's bad, or you hate accounting and so you don't know what's going on, and you've got tax deadlines looming, or there's this increasing pile of paper receipts that you've got to deal with or whatever, and it just stresses you out. It's this little, like a burr under the saddle, it's this little thing nagging at you that good accounting practices take all that away. And regardless of how things are going, at least I know I can rely on the data because I have good accounting practices. And I gotta tell you, that peace of mind is invaluable. You should be pursuing this. Make sure you get on top of your accounting, or your accountants, or your accountant, to make sure that you take advantage of the peace of mind, get that extra sleep, and lower that stress level. It's important. All right, now what we need to move on is 10 tips to improve your accounting, optimize your accounting. And again, these are in no particular order. These are 10 tips that I thought of, and of course there are many others that you can think of, and maybe that's your homework today, is you should brainstorm your own tips for better accounting practices. The number 1 tip is don't do it yourself. Unless you are an accountant, or unless you actually enjoy accounting, I highly recommend you don't do your accounting yourself. Find someone who does enjoy it, somebody who specializes in it, somebody who their nature and their personality lends itself to being a good accountant. So many business owners decide, I can do it myself. I've got software and I understand the general rules, so I'll do this myself. That is detracting you from doing what you do best, and that is a bad decision in management. You become less effective. Number 1 tip for improving accounting in your organization is to not do it yourself unless you're one of the exceptions. Number 2 is to set deadlines for, let's say, the report generation and the production of your income statement, your financials every month. You gotta set deadlines for this stuff and hold your accountant accountable to making sure that they're done by that. In our organization, we talk to our accountants and we say, how much time do you need? And to produce all the departmentals and overall company income statements. And we get that feedback, and then we set that, and then we hold them accountable to making sure that it's produced by that deadline. You've got to set this and hold yourself accountable, hold your accountant accountable. It's hard to say. Hold your accountant accountable to the deadlines you set for the reports that you need to generate from accounting. Number 3 tip is to separate your accounts for personal and business expenses. That may sound obvious, but some of you know, if you're being honest with yourself, that even I occasionally make a business expense with a personal account, like a credit card or something like that, because it just happens to be. Sometimes I do it inadvertently, or it may be that the vendor that I'm buying something from only takes a particular type of credit card and it's not one that I use for business. There are reasons, but to the degree possible, separate your personal and business expenses. It makes everything so much easier. So go ahead and get a separate credit card. And if you don't want to pay an annual fee for one of these ones with lots of benefits or whatever, then get one of these no-fee credit cards and just limit your business expenses or your personal expenses, whichever you're getting that credit card for, to that. And the same with your bank account, of course. Try to separate your expense accounts and also the accounts through which or into which your revenues flow. If you're getting sort of credit card money through a payment gateway that's going in, make sure that that goes separately. It's so much easier for good accounting practices. Number 4 is be picky when selecting the accountant that you work with. So make sure you only work with an intelligent, patient, collaborative, resourceful accountant. Don't work with somebody that you don't enjoy working with. You know, for many years, I had a friend and business partner who was the accountant for the organization, and just a great individual to work with. And that's what turned me around as it related to accounting, because he was patient, a very smart guy, and he would take the time to slow walk me through some accounting concepts that I was unfamiliar with. And he made it more relevant. Working with him got me to understand why it was so important to doing my job well as a manager. And you need to be selective, very discriminative. You need to be discriminating when you choose your accountant. And if right now you're not particularly enjoying the accountant you work with, then choose another one. Choose somebody who, and they need to be intelligent. They need to be patient because they need to work with you. They need to be collaborative. Perhaps above all, they need to be trustworthy. You need to have a trustworthy accountant. If you, for whatever reason, are raising an eyebrow and you're just not sure that this particular person or team that you're working with is trustworthy, you need to change that immediately. The number 5 tip is to hold accountants accountable. Hold your accounting team or your accountant accountable to meeting the standards that you expect. We talked about deadlines. That's one way you want to hold them accountable to meeting those deadlines, but there's more than that. There is, you have expectations. And so many people, because of their aversion to accounting, or they feel silly because they don't understand things or whatever, they just let the accounting team do whatever and get by with the minimum standard, minimum effort. You don't want to do that. You want to set the expectations and then inspect your expectations, hold them accountable to delivering for you as the entrepreneur, as the business owner, as the manager, what you need from them. The number 6 tip I have is tell your accountant when something triggers you to be irritated or frustrated or whatever. Share that. That's how you're going to be collaborative, and say, look for him or her to correct that situation and to investigate and to collaborate with you and strategize with you to improve that. I've heard some people talk about, well, the effort I have to go through to get my accountant the information that he needs is so much, I might as well do it myself. I would say that to my accountant. I would say, what are you going to do to solve this problem? This is irritating. I don't want to do this process that you have set out. And if you're a reasonable person, then the two of you, and if you're both intelligent, you can come up with a solution. I can give lots of examples of how this is important and relevant in business, but in the interest of time, I'm going to leave it at that. But when something irritates you or frustrates you as it relates to accounting, or something that's, peripheral and related, then bring it up and have your accountant strategize for improvement. The number 7 tip is to schedule recurring best practices. So you have best practices. We talked about you're going to create the KPI index. You're going to create your report card. You're going to create some expense analysis. You're going to do some vendor evaluations, say annually, and find out if the suppliers are the best choices for you. So there's a number of things as a manager you're going to do that involve accounting, but you're not going to leave those to chance. The best practice, the tip here is that you're going to, the best practice is you're going to schedule your best practices. Don't leave them for when you have time, and don't leave it, you hold your accountant accountable for doing this, but don't leave it up to, free time. You're going to schedule these things. Number 8 tip for best accounting practices in your business is to have your accountant explain and re-explain, and for you to ask questions. You need to be comfortable, and you need to understand as a manager what's going on and what the numbers mean. And so many of us are afraid of looking silly, so when something is explained and we don't get it, we go, oh, okay. And then the person moves on. Don't do that. Ask questions again and again, and have them re-explain. Say, please walk me through this like I'm in kindergarten. I don't get it, and it's unfamiliar. And you should understand these things. It's going to make you a better manager. The number 9 tip is to empower your accountant. You need to empower. That's why you got to have somebody trustworthy. Empower him to be able to do as much as possible. Payroll, to pay taxes, to pay vendors, to accept incoming payments. All of that stuff should fall outside of the realm of what you do and what's on your plate. If you can get your accountant to do all that stuff, it frees up so much more time for you to do what you do. Now, you can set up alerts and everything to trigger anomalies, to alert you when an anomaly comes up, like, hey, how come we paid so much money out of this account or whatever. That's why it's critical to have, you can't empower someone unless they're trustworthy. So choose someone that you trust and then empower him to do a lot. Number 10 on the tip list is to align incentives wherever possible. So the degree to which it's possible for you to align the objectives of what your accountant is trying to accomplish and what you're trying to accomplish, do so. And how you can do that is to maybe your pay, the way you pay your accountant, or maybe the way you hold him accountable, or reward him or recognize him. There's all these kind of things. Now, some of you are outsourcing your accounting work, and I get that, but you can still have conversations, and you need to have conversations and collaborate with your external accounting team. And wherever possible, let them know what your objectives are so that you can reward them with your continued business, as an example, when they are helping you to accomplish those objectives. Like you might say, I want my report cards available on the 10th of the month, or I want my financials available on the 5th of the month. It's critical for whatever reason or whatever. And then you can say, as long as you're doing these things, I can see us having a long-term relationship. It's a little tricky depending on your situation, but remember the key is you want to align objectives with all stakeholders wherever possible. It's no different with accounting. So those are your tips. Those are your best practices. Those are the ways in which the accounting can make you more effective as a manager, can improve your business. I hope you learned something from this. I hope you will share this information with those who are responsible for carrying out the accounting practices in your business, and you will improve as a result of the information I shared today. As I say, I'll try to make a download in the description. Go ahead and click on that. You'll have to enter your name and email address, and then you can have this sort of as a checklist. And whatever homework you set up for yourself today, make sure that you accomplish that, implement those things in your business today. And please leave a comment. Leave a comment there if you want me to elaborate on any of these concepts a little bit further, or if you want to push back. Have you got some ideas that should have been on the list? What did I leave out that should have been a best practice, or that good accounting practices enable? Leave a comment that we can learn from, because we need to learn from one another. Perpetual refinement.